opportunity to log in, and we'll get started then. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Welcome to the College of Information Communications virtual information session. We're excited to have the opportunity to talk to everyone today. As we go through this presentation, we do recommend that you put your questions in the Q&A chat portion. So the Q&A button, not the chat button, so they don't get lost. And if they are relevant to what we are looking at on the presentation, we'll answer them. If not, we'll get to them at the end of our short presentation that we have. So to begin, my name is Doris Striffler. I am the recruiter here in the College of Information and Communications. If you've had a chance to visit us on campus, or you may have received emails from me at some point, but hopefully today you'll leave with all of your questions answered. I'm excited to also introduce a few other folks in the room. We have Dr. Rashandra James. And so Dr. James, if you'd like to pop on for a moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm getting a note that the video has been stopped by the host. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, I can't turn my camera on, but good afternoon. My name is Rashandra James, as mentioned, and I am the Assistant Dean for Student Success for the College of Information and Communications. And I'm super excited that you've decided to join us tonight to hear more about our programming in the college. I entered the university as a graduate student over 17 years ago, and I never left. So that's how great of a place that it is. And I'm excited for you to learn more, elated for you to learn more about who we are and why I believe will be the best place for you to complete your undergraduate education. So welcome, and I look forward to learning more about you. My role is over advising student success, scholarships, career services, and recruitment.
And then we also have with us our Dean of the College of Information and Communications, Dr. Tom Reichert.
Yeah, thank you, Dora. I appreciate that. A real honor to meet with you this evening. My name's Tom Reichert, Dean of the College of Information and Communications. We're one of 7 programs across the country that have both library and information science, as well as journalism and mass communication under the same roof, which makes us extra special. A little fun fact about me is that this is my 4th SEC school. I was a journalism major at the University of Missouri way back a long time ago. Also been on faculty at the University of Alabama, at the University of Georgia. And as I say, and I mean this sincerely, I had to work really hard to get to the best SEC program and the best College of Information and Communications. You'll hear a lot tonight about what makes us special. I'll mention just one thing, and that is we've done a lot of research to get a job. After graduation, you need 2 things. One is you need to know the fundamentals into the field that which you're intending to move into, but you also have to be facile with the latest tools and technology. It's really difficult for many academic programs to keep up with what's current, but we've made a sincere commitment to that. We make a tremendous investment in those tools and technology, and we ensure that our students learn those. AI is just one example of that. And you'll hear a little bit more about that tonight. So anyway, thank you and appreciate you being here tonight.
All right, thank y'all. So, Dean Reichert mentioned this briefly, but we do have two schools within the College of Information and Communication. So we have the School of Information Science and the School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Those majors within the School of Journalism are listed below. So currently we have 6 within that major or within that school, and then the one within the School of Information Science. But one thing that I really do love about working here in the College of Information and Communications is that in my last 5 years of working here, the college has done an amazing job of listening to students and listening to employers and listening to alumni and really taking the opportunity to grow and expand where we see fit. So we do have at least one major that should be releasing very, 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 very soon. We might be able to talk a little bit about it today, but we're hopeful that you'll start to see more about it when you get here in the fall. So we always like to make sure our students know that with a CIC degree, the College of Information and Communications, you're going to stand out. Our college is ranked #1 on campus over and over again for having one of the highest graduation rates at USC, and our freshman to sophomore retention rate is also incredibly high. Students come to the College of Information and Communications and feel supported, love what they're learning. They enjoy what they're learning, and they really grow to know their faculty and their fellow classmates. And so their overall experience in CIC is super positive for our students. Our students also begin as a major within our college or within our majors on day 1. So when you come to Carolina and you join CIC, you're not a pre-journalism major or pre-information science major. You are advertising, broadcast, viscom, whatever your degree might be within our college, that is your major, and you start those classes in your first semester. We also, as Tom mentioned, have access to a lot of new and emerging technology. We have facilities within both of our buildings to kind of accommodate those types of things as well. And our professors are always coming up or creating courses that are skills that are desired by students and employers, so that students can take a really interesting course while also building their portfolio and learning about what's new and what's coming. Some of our facilities, we do have 5 computer labs that are fully accessible to all students in CIC within the physical space of the J School, and one over in Davis College, which is where our School of Information Science is located. So students have access to those. A lot of their skills-heavy coursework will be hosted in there so that they have access to those pieces of equipment. We offer an equipment checkout for students, and so students can not have to worry about coming to Carolina having the best cameras, tripods, lights, GoPros, anything like that, because we have it here for students to use. And then 2 of our really amazing labs that have kind of grown and developed even during my time as an employee in CIC. We have a social media insights lab, which has technology that essentially can listen to what's happening on social media. So the folks who run that lab can go in and use software and look at what's happening all over social media and pull data and then interpret the data and get it back out to professors, students doing research, and even organizations and companies outside of USC. We also have a biometrics and user experience lab, which is located over in Davis College. And that facility has really amazing equipment to monitor your blood pressure, your eye movement. There's even virtual reality goggles. So a lot of different ways to kind of see how people are interacting with media and different communications. We also offer our students hands-on experiences both in and out of the classroom, and we're going to talk about some more of those as we progress through this presentation. But those, we make sure that students are having as real of an experience during their time at Carolina as we possibly can. So to talk a little bit about advising, first and foremost, students are assigned and should maintain the same advisor for 4 years. So we follow a 4-year advising model. So as long as your advisor doesn't leave the university or doesn't leave the college, you should have that same advisor for all 4 years, which is a really awesome experience for students. It allows you to really get to know your advisor and allows your advisor to really get to know you as well. So that y'all can kind of grow together and they can help you throughout your entire time in the college. As previously mentioned, you can begin your JOUR, which are any of the journalism majors, advertising down to VisCom. Your courses are called JOUR classes. You can begin those or your information science classes in your first semester. And then, like most universities, we do, students have access to a platform called DegreeWorks, which helps students and advisors track students' degree progression. So that's how you can kind of understand, okay, I'm taking this non-US history class. How does that work in my degree? Or is it counting for something or whatever it might be? Some of the requirements that students have to do, all of our J school majors have to take a media and society class. They have to take a writing for mass comm class, and then they have to take a law and ethics class, which they actually get a choice in those. They either get like a traditional media law class or they can get a social media and internet law class. And that's what the difference between the two numbers are. And then a principles course for their major. So each major, and some of them kind of combine them, have their own class that introduces them to their major within the J school. And then information science students, their major is really flexible. And so while these aren't necessarily like, you have to take these two, but you don't have to take them first necessarily, but a lot of students will choose to take these two courses during their first year so that they can get a good introduction to information science and make sure that it is the best fit for them. There is a lot of flexibility within both schools that if you came in as a mass communications major, but maybe you took a public relations class and you decide that that's where your heart really lies, you can change majors pretty easily within the college during your first year and a half. And so students will do that when they first come in. Sometimes they'll take a moment to explore what the college has to offer, and then maybe make a few changes to their degree. But you can see that most of these requirements that are specific to the J school and I school can be really flexible, especially in the J school. Those are all things that any J school major has to take. And then in a broad sense, everyone at Carolina has to take Carolina Core, which other universities typically call general education requirements. And those pretty much also maintain the same requirements from major to major within the entire college. So again, a pretty flexible first year if you want to explore some stuff. We also would like to highlight some of our really fun classes that we do offer here in the college. And so these classes, I'm not going to read all of them to you, but hopefully a few of them catch your eye. You can see that they span across different topics. So we have sports, we have public relations, we have information science with the user experience courses. So there's a lot of classes to connect with students. So social media, different groups and societal issues that might be happening in media. Students have the opportunity to do those. A lot of these classes too provide students with the opportunity to build their portfolios. And so, for instance, a class like the Carolina Agency that's listed down at the bottom would be an opportunity for a student to have a real life agency experience, and similar to what they might experience in public relations or advertising, but that's housed right in our building. So it's really an accommodating opportunity for students because you don't have to necessarily travel anywhere, because you just have to make it to campus, which you're already doing for your other classes. Some other really fun classes that we also offer our study abroad opportunities. And so the university does a really fantastic job of offering amazing study abroad opportunities if you would like to go abroad for longer than just a summer trip. But we always like to highlight these opportunities for our students in the college because we offer some of the most affordable trips for our students. And so the locations that we're offering this summer, and as we look forward to future summers, we know there's going to be additional opportunities as well. The locations this summer, they're going to Germany for 2.5 weeks in May and Spain for the entire month of June. Each trip allows students to bring back classes that count within their specific degree. So especially within the journalism program, most of these classes come back as those JOUR classes, but an information science student is able to use those classes as part of their major as well. But you can see that they bring back one course with Germany because it is shorter and 2 classes with Spain. The cost, which I think is usually a big thing, our students, regardless of the trips, are responsible for their flights. And the Germany trip does require a program fee, but the trip to Spain does not have a program fee. And any student who does these trips only has to pay in-state tuition for those classes that they take while they're abroad with the College of Information and Communications. And on top of that, on top of making those things really affordable, we do always offer scholarships for students who are going on these trips to apply for every year. So again, doing our best to make sure that every student has the opportunity to go abroad in the college, and especially making sure that money is not a concern. We try our best to keep it low cost for students. We also have within our college, we have our own career services manager. So she is responsible for any and all career related things for a CIC student. So while the university's career center is absolutely fantastic and we love them so very much, having our career services manager, who again is in-house, is such a blessing because she's able to really focus on what our students need here in the College of Information and Communications. And so she is looking for jobs and internships that she can share with students. She's developing workshops to amplify your skill set, your resume, or even just bring in different employers from across the nation to talk to students about what they need and what they should be working on while they're there or while they're here at Carolina. And she also meets with students one-on-one. So if there's anything individualized that you need from her, she can go ahead and start helping you with those. Again, this is something that's super unique. It's some colleges on campus offer it, but not everybody does. And I just think it's nice, especially when it comes time for like job and internship fairs, because you're able to walk into a career fair knowing that the people at that fair want to talk to students with CIC degrees, and you're not walking into like a giant general career or internship fair where there could be people there from looking for students from across the university, and you might not know that until you've waited to talk to them or applied for a job or something like that. So, and on that career thing, career information, we wanted to highlight some of our alumni. So I went through some alumni, some are recent, some have graduated a little bit ago, and tried to make sure I selected someone from every single major so that y'all can see the types of jobs that our alumni receive when they graduate. And where they go. So we have alumni in California, Florida, DC, Illinois, Indiana, and even down south in Miami, Florida. So lots of different opportunities for you to kind of see where these different students went after they graduated. So I'll just leave this here for y'all for a moment so you can kind of get a good glimpse of who has graduated from Carolina. All right, so we also have a few special guests who are joining us today to talk about their experiences either currently or in the past with the college, or even still currently actually too. So first I would like to introduce CJ Leathers, who is a current first-year journalism major here in the College of Information and Communications.
All right. Hey, everyone. Just to reintroduce myself again, my name is CJ Leathers, and I'm a first year journalism student here at USC. I'm still trying to figure out a minor, but I'm currently deciding between music industry studies and film and media studies.
So CJ, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions if you don't mind. Some of them are maybe questions that people have shared with us before they came today. Okay.
Absolutely.
So could you tell us a little bit more about why you selected the University of South Carolina in your major, especially given that you are from out of state?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So obviously the schools that you could think of that are around there are UNC Charlotte, UNC Chapel Hill, NC State. Um, a lot of my friends and the people that I went to high school with go there, but I felt like I wanted a different experience. And I have a lot of family that had went to USC. Um, and in terms of why I chose my major, a lot of that had to do with just having a lot of spare time, as we all know, during the pandemic. Um, just finding a new hobby, learning about writing, um, and putting pen to paper. I just started to enjoy it and do it more and more and more until I was like, I want to do this.
Awesome. Can you also tell us where, like, what you're involved in at USC currently?
Absolutely. Okay, so I am currently an arts and culture writer for the Daily Gamecock, which is basically our one of our school publishers. There are also publishers like Garnet and Black and others, but the arts and culture section is where we write about a lot of the communal events around Columbia and campus. So this could just be writing about fashion, it could be music, it could be food around campus, food spots, or just general culture, basic things that you would think of off the top of your head. Um, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I forgot to
Go
cut you
ahead.
off.
No.
But I'm also a part of the National Association of Black Journalists here, and I'm also part of AAAS. I'm forgetting what all the A's stand for, but yes.
Awesome. So what has been your favorite memory or thing that you've done so far at Carolina?
I would definitely say it's probably two things. The very first thing I would say is really just finding my clique of friends from the beginning. That was definitely one of the best parts of it. Even though I was coming from out of state and I didn't know anyone, I I made a commitment to put myself out there enough to where you get to know people enough and finally find your group. So you're not out in the mud by yourself, which is not a bad thing, but it's always better to go in and try to go in with people that you know. And then I would also say just being involved in the Daily Gamecock, it just it's given me a lot of realistic experience and it's helped me to really enhance my writing skills a lot. I would definitely say that for sure.
Awesome. That kind of leads into another question I wanted to ask you. You are a first year student, so I'm not sure if you've had a chance to take any classes outside of maybe some of those required classes we talked about.
Mhm.
Have you had a chance to take a journalism class that wasn't one of those four that I mentioned?
I believe I am taking one right now. I I know it's journalism 215. I can't remember which it's media literacy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm actually looking at taking the podcasting class as well. But yes.
Awesome. Is there something you think every USC student, I mean, again, you've only been here for a year, but is there
Mhm.
something you think every USC student should have the opportunity to experience?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. I would break it down to learning about the culture here at USC because I feel like that is a big part of why a lot of people choose this university. Um, to start off, I would say there's an event here that we have, that we had, every year known as the Bustle at the Russell House. Um, that is where a lot of people go the night before school starts. So I would definitely say going there, and even if you don't know people, try to connect with people and try to make plans before your classes begin. And the second thing I would say is I would say supporting your sporting teams. Of course, women's basketball, national champions, of course, definitely. Between them, football, basketball, men's basketball, tennis, any baseball, any sports you could think of, I would definitely say that as well.
Awesome. Is there something that, or how do you see rather, your major currently being used, in everyday life?
I would say a lot of it is learning how to talk to people and really how to get learning how to communicate with people as cliche as it sounds, being in communications, um, learning what learning more about what people are going to say, um, and trying to actually a better answer would be learning to be informed, very informed about all aspects of things that you like, even things that you don't necessarily say that you're into, but learning that you have to be informed about these things. Definitely.
Awesome. Is, there anything I haven't asked you yet that you would want to share?
Um, let's see. Oh, also another thing, just talking about just myself on how I got a few of my friends. I'm personally into fashion a lot, so I know they have a lot of fashion events on Green Street, like where they sell clothes and things like that. I tend to go out there, so anyone that is into fashion or something along the lines of it, I would definitely say to try and go once you get here. Um, of course, they sell great clothes, but you can find a lot of like-minded people there as well.
Awesome. And then this question, before I close up, is more of like an opinion question because I have
Of
my
course.
recruiter answer, but I want to hear
Mhm.
what you would say as a student.
Yeah.
Um, what, as a journalism student specifically, um, what laptop would you recommend for students to use?
Oh, oh. Okay, so I have a MacBook currently. Um, I got I got that before I came to college, but I would definitely say, ooh, that's a tough question actually. It depends between either a MacBook. I really would say I'm not sure if it's a I cannot remember. It's definitely I don't know if it's a Chromebook, but it's there's my roommate has a laptop that I would say I would definitely get. It's I'd have to find it, but I'm pretty sure it's like Lenovo, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing the computer you have because my typical answer as the recruiter is that for our students in the College of Information and Communications, really any computer is going to help you out. And I always recommend that families speak to someone who's way more knowledgeable about computers than CJ and I, um,
Yeah,
who
definitely.
works in the industry. So whether your family prefers Apple computers or PCs, speak to someone at Apple, at Microsoft, at Best Buy, wherever you're going to purchase your computer from, and share with them what your student would be doing in the classroom. Because a journalism student, like CJ, is going to be focusing more on writing than anything else. And so while he does have a MacBook, it sounds like that would just give him more opportunities if he wanted to use more editing software and things like that. But in general, a journalism student, a mass communication student, probably even a PR student, doesn't need a computer that has a lot of memory or fast processing speed because your content and your work is going to be much smaller than a student who's studying a major that is more creative focused. And so it does sound like you are interested in like arts and film and media and stuff like that. So having a computer with a bigger processing speed, like a MacBook Pro or something like that, or the PC's equivalent would be what my recommendation would be. But I always say talk to someone who knows more about it, and just share with them the type of work your student is going to be doing in the classroom. So it sounds like CJ kind of agrees with that.
Definitely, I do. I definitely do.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, CJ.
Of course, of course.
So we also have another guest with us today as well. We have Lisa Fisher, who is an alumni of the School of Journalism and Mass Communications. And she is currently the Executive Vice President for Advertising Sales at Up Entertainment. So Lisa, whenever you're ready, if you would like to turn your mic on or turn on your...
Hello, everybody. I guess I came on right on time.
You did.
Okay, good, because I guess I missed the beginning, but
Okay.
boy, are you in good hands, everyone. I can't see your faces. I'm so used to seeing lots of faces on Zoom. So I'm Lisa Fisher. I am a proud alum of the University of South Carolina, as is my daughter, actually, was a proud alum. And I have lots of friends that are proud alums. I majored in advertising in the School of Journalism. I was fortunate enough to have a ton of hands-on experience. Not only learned about advertising, but it was the advertising PR sequence. And then I'm also fortunate to be part of the Dean's Leadership Council and working with the Dean on making sure that we stay focused on what's next and focused on making sure that the students have the proper education to be able to enter the workforce. So I've been a membership of the Leadership Council, I think 6 years now, but I've been involved in the school pretty much since I graduated, which was a very long time ago. From a career perspective, I started out on the advertising agency side. I did an internship, which was required when I was going to Carolina. And I was from Connecticut, surprisingly. Very happy that I went down south. And did an internship at an advertising agency called Young and Rubicam, and I had no idea about the media side. I really thought I was going to end up at an agency in the creative or running an account. And I've stayed on the media side ever since. And I was responsible there for buying, and I was basically an investment lead and buying advertising for major accounts like Johnson & Johnson, General Foods, a bunch of big accounts. From there, I knew I wanted to go into sales. And the reason I knew that is I had a great experience selling at the Gamecock. As I did that as a sort of a extracurricular activity. But it was time well spent because I learned a lot about advertising agencies, learned a lot about media investment, learned a lot about negotiations. And a lot about how, the advertising side plays into the support of all the content that you guys love so much that's out there. You can't do it without the support of the finance side of that. So from there, I went into sales, into the cable industry, which a lot of people said I'd never have a job. Well, many years later, I'm proud to say that I work with really large brands, everything from USA Networks to Discovery Channel, TLC. My last job at Discovery Communications, we started with 2 networks. We ended up with 13 and digital. And I was the first head of sales of the Oprah Winfrey Network. So I got to do a lot of really fun things with Oprah and build that brand and build that platform. I've managed over 100 people at any given time. And I'm currently at a company called Up Entertainment. You may know some of the brands, Up TV, Aspire TV. We have several streaming services that are non-ad supported, but they're subscription video based with partners like Amazon. And we just actually acquired Ovation. So great time in my life at Carolina because I was able to really understand the full breadth and depth of broadcast journalism. And also get involved on, really the support of advertising to that content. And I've been, again, involved ever since with this team. whether it was Dean Reichert or the deans prior. So I'm here for you. The alumni are ready and willing, I believe. You know, I thought you had to be in New York and you had to be at a big university. I can tell you, I have lots of friends that have been a lot of a lot of other universities like Syracuse and a lot of big schools. But what I found is that the fact that it's hands-on base at USC, I came out ready to go. I came out, as a matter of fact, they offered me a job during my internship and I said, no, I want one more football season. So that's what I did. I came back and I graduated because I wanted to go to the football games. So it's a great school. I'm saying it from my heart, not just because I know that we all want you to come here, but I really believe that you'll have great exposure to a lot of great people to teach you about, the future of what's happening in the media world. I could speak for what we've done as a leadership group. We make sure, I'm sure you went through the Social Media Insights Lab. That was a collaboration with the Dean's Leadership Council from many top executives said, you've got to make sure you've got data and analytics. What I love about what the Dean has done with this school in terms of information science is data is everything now. You really have to understand it. You have to understand how to communicate around the data. And I think the Dean has put in place, is continuing to put in place the appropriate skills for those that come out with this degree, not only to be able to create content, but also be able to look at the data and say, does that content work and is it resonating with the particular target audience? So I think there's a lot of great classes. You guys are really excited, I'm sure, about what's happening in sports. I personally am excited about women's sports and what the Lady Gamecocks just won the NCAA championships. But the Dean is already ahead of it and working with the sports management school and creating a sports and media curriculum. There's also some great things that you can do on your off time. Create-a-thon, I worked with many students on working with not-for-profits on creating, literally it's a national organization, but you literally work in teams. In 24 hours, you get a case study. You actually find out what their issues are, and then how do you resolve them, and you actually resolve them in that 24 hours. Everything from building the website, building the communications plan, working on any logos, anything that the not-for-profit needs or you believe needs to basically hit their goals. And then you actually present it to that client or to that not-for-profit. The study abroad program, I think the CIC has been extremely creative to offer the study abroad program that's affordable. When I went to school, it was difficult. I paid for my own school, so I know how difficult that is, but I think the way that the study abroad program is, it's so affordable. It gives you tremendous exposure. I got to the benefit of hearing some of the students that went on it this summer, and they came back different and smarter and ready to go. We've started a women's leadership group, which is just in its, we've been working on it for a while, but we're working really closely with many of the outside women's leaders to make sure that there's opportunity, for women and help them understand how different it is in the workforce. I don't know if I've missed anything, but there's so much. I could go on and on. I'm here for you guys if you want to reach out and you're trying to make that decision. I also have younger alumni that I keep in touch with all the time that have been really successful coming out of the CIC school. So again, I don't know, Dora, if there's anything else you want me to add, or
You hit a lot of the nails on the head.
it's because I'm passionate and believe in it and see it working.
Yes.
So it's great. And
Yeah. We did get a question earlier that I think you touched on, but I would love to hear if you have anything else to share about it as well. One of the questions a family was interested in knowing about was how do you see your major and the work you do impacting everyday life, maybe even outside of your job?
Oh, it's really interesting. My involvement with multiple companies has exposed me to so many other so many other things. You know, the media industry is really involved in, you know, I just had a colleague that just went to an American Cancer Society dinner, for example, and it's a big, huge fundraiser. And the media companies are real supporters of, you know, not-for-profits. So I had opportunities beyond just the exposure from working with my everyday colleagues. You know, Discovery Communications, we had an education arm at Discovery Communications. And so I got involved in working with advertisers and, you know, with their interest in supporting education, for example, in our curriculum for Discovery Education. When I led Discovery Health Channel as the head of sales, we worked with Washington, D.C. and created a whole curriculum and a contest around, you know, basically, I can't remember the name of what the name was, but it was around health and again, this was probably around 10 years ago. Right now I work for Aspire TV is one of our brands, and we're very involved in the HBCUs. We're very involved in elevating sort of the HBCUs on air. So I get involved quite often in if a client is interested in production, a client is interested in supporting that, how do we do that on air? So I work with, you know, everyone from programming. That has made me think differently in the world, not just that I'm sitting there doing a job, but it's making me think differently about, you know, what I do, the content I support, and what it does, you know, how it helps the external by what we do and what we air. So I've been on many panels. I've had clients ask me to be on many panels around that. I think your exposure, I believe, in that, at least in what I do every day, which is advertising, which is supporting marketers and what their initiatives are, you learn so much about, you know, their products, why they're good, why they're not good, and how they're trying to get their voice out there in a positive light. There's so much negative out there. So I get exposure to brand managers. That has made me think differently about advertising, maybe think differently about, you know, how communication works. You just use it in everyday life, your organization skills that you have to do. I'm a constant project manager. So that project management, my sisters and my family say to me all the time, like, mom, you're always project managing. Because at the end of the day, when you're leading something, you have to see it from start to finish. There's always deadlines. That's changed my life by just, you know, having to deal with a time frame, for example, that certain ads have to get on the air by a certain time. So I've got to figure out, you know, what does it look like? How do I pitch it back to a client? How do we get it on the air in their time frame? How do I work with my programming people, my creative people to make it all happen? So it just, this career, I believe, hones all those skills. My math skills are way better than they've ever been when I first started in communications. I've had to learn what a P&L is like, which means, you know, I'm in charge of revenue. I mean, everything I do, I report directly to the CEO. Everything I do and everything we bring in gets spent and back out again. So I've gotten a real keen understanding around finance and how a company runs. That's helped me personally in terms of, like, how do I invest? How do I make sure I save? How do I, you know, help my own kids and myself in terms of dealing with that every single day? There's just so many skills that you learn by being in the major. I mean, you're not really, you could pigeonhole yourself and not open your aperture, or you can say, how does business work? And I think this major's allowed me to figure that out, because advertisers are investing money to get their messages out there. And their whole thing is it selling my product? Is it a good environment for me to be in? Is it going to reach my P&L? What are my customers going to say? It's all the things you learn when you're dealing with yourself, your peers. I mean, there's so many things that you can align. I don't know if I answered the question the way that they're thinking of asking it, but
Yep, I think that's a great answer. One of my, I guess, top questions for you, and then we'll move on to see if anyone who is here in the chat has questions, is thinking back to when you were deciding on colleges and universities to go to. What ultimately helped you decide that Carolina was the place you were going to come?
Well, keep in mind for me, I'm from the Northeast. I think a lot more kids today look at colleges beyond, especially if you're from the Northeast, beyond the Northeast. That was not the case when I was applying to schools. A lot of my friends were applying to Northeast schools, wanted to stay close to home. I wanted to go, a couple things. One, there was one particular student at my high school that was, actually, she was a cheerleader at Carolina, and her father was a teacher of mine. And I told him I wanted advertising, and then I told him that I wanted a different experience because I knew I wanted to come back to New York and I wanted to make sure I could. And he said, you really should look at Carolina, because I was also an athlete myself. He said, because there's so much more there. It's a really good school, got a great advertising program, but there are so many things, fun things to do. The experience in football, I did not. I mean, I had it in my high school, but I didn't have college football. The warm, I was a skier. My parents were like, why are you doing this? You love to ski. Well, I'll come home for spring break. And that's what I did. And I skied at spring break. Most people go to Florida. So the climate, but what really did it for me is I came down and I visited. And the campus is so beautiful. What's funny about Columbia, you come into the campus and you're not really sure, and the way it's all on the streets are all on the outskirts. It wasn't until I walked through campus and I really started to see where I was going to be, where I was going to live, and feel the energy that I just turned to my father and I said, I want to go here, which he said, I really want you to go close to home, but it was the best decision I made. And, it got me ready for getting back to New York. I got a great internship. My mentor was is still the president of CBS Sales. She still keeps in touch with me. So it was great mentorship in the school that pushed me to say, yes, you can do it. You can go back to New York. And I knew I was ready. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
So I would love if you, and obviously the rest of our panelists stick on if there's a question that we feel like could be better answered from someone who has experienced the curriculum. But if anyone who is here has specific questions that we haven't answered yet, please feel free to drop them again in the Q&A chat. And we can answer them there. I do see that there was one, and this is probably a best question for Rashandra. There was a question early on about departmental scholarships. If there were any available still.
The process did end on last week, but if the person who had a question wants to know more information, you can feel free to give them my email address. But Central Communications or Central Admissions sent out a notice a while back to all admitted students about applications and scholarship applications, excuse me. But if you will send me an email, I can look at what's going on with your particular situation.
And Rashandra's contact information will be at the end of the presentation. And we'll send this out to everyone who we invited as well later on this week. So you will have her information. Thank you, Rashandra.
You're welcome.
I'll go over a few of the other questions while I wait to see if anyone else has anything that they didn't ask early on. There were some questions about internships, and so I hope we opened your eyes to that there are a lot of opportunities. As far as requirements, I believe our information science major requires a internship or what we call an independent study that you can learn more about when you get here. And then our PR major requires a supervised work experience, which is essentially an internship. And so those two majors are the ones that are like, you kind of have to have one. Regardless of your major though, in CIC, we highly encourage students to take advantage of internships because they are going to help build your resume, regardless of whether you need it to complete a course credit or not. You should definitely be looking for them and taking advantage of them so that you can continue to build your resume and your experiences, because sometimes you try something and it might not be exactly what you thought it was going to be. And if you're able to try it early on, maybe that's an opportunity to explore something different. Or you try something and it's exactly what you wanted it to be, and you continue to pursue those opportunities so that when you go to look for a job in your senior year, you're able to have all these experiences that really prove to an employer why you're the best fit for them. So you can do them for credit, even if you are not required to have one, or you can just do it to have the experience, or you can get paid. You can get paid and it count for credit. That is also an opportunity too. So tons of different opportunities, especially in the Columbia area, but you can also find opportunities across the country. I think one of my favorite things about CIC is that sometimes we'll have a student go somewhere new and different that no one's ever been before. And because of the student and their experiences that they're bringing into that internship that they've learned in their major at Carolina, we build a new partnership. And so that becomes a new opportunity, a new location for people to be able to have an opportunity to go somewhere brand new. So
Dora,
that is a
Dora,
good,
can I
yes.
step in real quick?
Yes, you can, Tom. Mhm.
Yeah, hi. And I think you heard the testimonial from Lisa Fisher talking about the value of internships. I'll say they aren't necessarily required in the J school these days, but they are highly encouraged. One of the great things about living in Columbia, South Carolina, is we are in the capital city, and there are so many internships available. You don't have to wait till the summer to get an internship. You can intern during the fall, the spring, and or the summer. So it's a great opportunity. And as Lisa said, that extracurricular out of classroom opportunities to learn and apply what you're getting in the classroom to the real world are priceless.
Thank you, Tom. There were a couple of other questions too about some of the hands-on experiences and sort of like final project or capstone projects that students complete. Pretty much all of our majors, or really all of our majors, have a hands-on experience incorporated into their curriculum. It's just some of them sometimes seem more obvious than others. So if you've had the opportunity to tour our building, you will notice that we have a big broadcast studio, but that's because being a broadcast student, there are tons of pieces of equipment they need to learn and all of that. While you might not necessarily see the space for a public relations student, but that's because a lot of the work that's being done as a PR student is in that agency style setting. And so it's working in a classroom on your personal device, creating content, updating websites, things like that. So I feel like almost every single class a student takes within their J school curriculum or even their I school curriculum gives you something, again, that you can develop a portfolio, add to a resume, talk about in an interview. And so, yes, there are tons of different hands-on opportunities for students. And really just depending on your major, it might be more obvious than not. For visual communication students, there's going to be courses that prepare those students to learn about the cameras they're using if they've never had a chance to learn about them before coming to Carolina. And so they'll learn how to use all the different pieces of equipment, cameras, video cameras. We have a whole visual communication studio for students. And so those are opportunities. And then all of our majors do also kind of have like a completion course, I guess, that you kind of take. And again, sometimes it feels more obvious for some of our majors, like broadcast and journalism, do an entire newsroom experience where they spend the entire day, Monday through Friday, for a whole semester, getting the news, reporting on the news, And depending on the major, you know, the broadcast students do a live broadcast every afternoon. And so our advertising, our PR students, they also have opportunities like that to work with real brands, real groups, real people. So really across the board, there is something for every student in every major to develop your work and kind of complete it in your last year at Carolina. So I hope that answers that question. We just have a few more minutes left. So I want to make sure if anyone else has any questions that they feel like they can ask them. I am going to go ahead and move on to the next slide so that you have our contact information. Again, I will make sure that we share this presentation with y'all as well. And so that way you have all this information in your emails soon. And I also included, if you haven't had the chance to come to Carolina, the university created a virtual visit. So definitely take a chance or take some time to check out that link where it says virtual visit to CIC here. That link will actually take you to the main page. And once you get logged in, you can click through and see all the different stops for the university and then check out the School of Journalism and Mass Communications building and Davis College to see our facilities here in the College of Information and Communications. And so it is a really great visit if you haven't had opportunity to come down and see us. If you're still thinking about coming down to visit, please reach out. Dora, would be the person who could help you with that. And I'm happy to help you get a visit scheduled if you're still thinking about coming down to visit USC. But I'm not seeing any questions. Not sure if any of the other panelists, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen for now, so it'll be a little easier. But I don't see any questions in the Q&A or the chat. So again, we thank you so much for coming to learn a little bit more about the college, and we hope that we will get the opportunity to see all of y'all in the fall. So if you have any questions, I'll make sure that I get Lisa's information and CJ's information as well to share with y'all if they're comfortable, making sure that y'all have their contact information too. So
Absolutely.
awesome. So I'll send that out when we send out the presentation.
Great. CJ, I see you're a writer for the Gamecock. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks,
Have a good
Lisa.
night. Absolutely.
Thanks, CJ.
Thank you so
Tom.
much. Thank you.
Great
Have a
job,
good
guys.
evening.